So warming up the shoulders. You may be able to go all the way back. It does not matter how far you go. We're just gonna kind of go back and forth. When you hold it up above your head, let's do a little bit of kind of side to side. Twist a little bit. Very common to go through a day without moving our shoulders throughout their full range of motion. So it's really nice to kind of take some time to do stuff like this. So if you bring your hands in a little bit more narrow, you're going to feel it warm up different areas. You're most likely not going to be able to go the same distance back, but that's okay. Just going back and forth. Warming up. And then let's bring your blanket or strap behind your back, and we're going to start with your palms facing away from your body. And we're just going to lift back up this way. This way may be a little bit harder. I've still got a little shoulder issue from when I slipped on some ice in November, so you'll see me going limited range, so if you can go up a little bit higher, that's fine. And then turn your palms to face towards you, and we're gonna lift up a little bit that way too. So I'm going a little bit wider here. You can kind of pull your blanket or your strap apart. And just come back down. All right, so your shoulders should feel nice and warm. So let's grab your foam roller or your ball, and what we're going to start with here is the attachment of your arm here to your shoulder blade. So whatever tool you have is going to go right here. You can definitely go up at the wall. This can be a pretty tender area for some people. So I'm going to lay on the ball like this. So I'm right where the shoulder meets the shoulder blade, or the arm meets the shoulder blade. And I'm just gonna rock a little bit side to side. There are a ton of nerves in here. So we wanna be careful that we're not getting any numbness, tingling, anything like that. Just back and forth. Area is, again, just because we don't use our full shoulder range of motion, it can get tight, but also just a posture thing. Really starts to kind of tug and pull our shoulders forward. So it's just a nice one to open up that area. Okay, so let's go. If your landmark is your armpit, we're gonna go up above the armpit. So you're gonna be a little bit more on your arm bone here. And we're just gonna do a little bit of rocking back and forth. Did you bury your bone? You'll feel like you're kind of rolling back on the back side of your arm, getting your tricep to the front, bicep area. And then let's drop, so go back to your armpit and then drop onto your rib cage a little bit here too. I like to have my head supported because I feel like if that's not comfortable, it kind of defeats the relaxation of your body and working of the area. So you don't have to do that. Just going back and forth. Perfect. Okay, so you can do this with your foam roller, but a ball would be a little bit more pinpoint. So we just hit this armpit here, and all we're gonna do is travel to the back of your shoulder blade. So if I lay on my armpit and then roll a little bit to the back, I'm still gonna support my head, but now the ball is in a lovely tender spot on the back side of my shoulder blade. So this is where some of you might need to move up against a wall if it starts to get kind of nervy. Just gonna breathe through it a little bit. You can also add a little bit of movement in your arm here. Back and forth. We're giving some love to that rotator cuff muscle group in the lats. And then try to come a little bit further back onto your back of your shoulder blade here. So if you're still on that foam roller, you're just going to be kind of rolling back and forth this way. Just finding little spots in here, get some blood flow. Turning on that rest and relaxation. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend and now you're ready for some downtime. We had some beautiful weather in Denver. So nice. Okay, and since we're here, we're gonna come back to the armpit and we're gonna get the front of the chest. So we did the pec chest area a couple weeks ago, but we're gonna get a little bit more into the muscles. So you're going to lay, if you're on a foam roller, you can just roll directly onto it, but I'm gonna bring my arm down and actually lay with the ball right in between the front of my shoulder here and my pec. And I'm just going to roll a little bit back and forth. I can hold the ball here and make some arm circles. I can get my stuff out of the way here. Just work that pec in different areas. There's a steak in the Instapot, which is what girlfriend is barking at because she thinks it's hers. All right, let's come on off of that side. Go ahead and grab your strap, your blanket, whatever you have, and just do a few kind of pass-throughs here and just feel how awesome that side feels that we just worked on. Hey, Aini, come here. Should feel a little bit smoother, maybe less snap, crackle, pop. Okay, let's go to the other side now. So we're going right into the armpit here. Laying on the side, get your calendar pose here, and just rock back and forth. It's interesting, most of the time our non-dominant side is tighter than our dominant side, mostly because we don't tend to use it as much. It's more of a kind of kickstand. If you guys remember in school, when you used to rest your head on one hand while you were writing, it always makes me think of that. So it's usually just tightness in different areas. So let's go above that armpit here. Back and forth. And then we'll drop below the armpit here. You guys can always spend a little bit longer on here if you'd like. You'll notice as you're picking different spots, one may not feel quite as tight as the other. But that's a cool thing with a lot of the self-care is you can kind of self-evaluate yourself. You can evaluate how your body is doing. That's my Instapot, ready for food. But yeah, just checking in with different spots. And if an area doesn't feel like it needs to be worked on, you get to move on to something else. Okay, so back to that armpit area. And we're just gonna roll to the back of the shoulder. I don't know about you guys, but this is always the hot spot for me. So Coming back in, remembering when you hit those hot spots, if you want to make sure that you can at least breathe well. If we don't breathe well, we turn on that fight or flight, and we're not making significant changes here. You can add some of that movement back and forth. Awesome. And then let's slide more to the back side of that shoulder blade here. So I'm gonna keep my head supported, just getting the back shoulder blade. It's gonna feel like you're more on bone here, which you are. These muscles are way more superficial. There's not a lot of layers before you get to the bone, but as long as we're avoiding that nerviness. Awesome. And then let's go back to the middle of the armpit and sneak onto the chest. So right between shoulder and pec here. And what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of rolling towards the ball, just kind of back and forth. I'm gonna add that arm circle, so I'm kind of doing snow angels on this other side here. Face down snow angels. Just checking out different areas of that shoulder. One more sweep here, and then we'll come back up. So if you grab your strap or your blanket again here, double check, see how you feel side to side. Should feel pretty darn good. So one of the most common things that I talk to patients about is this posture correction. So throughout the day when we catch ourselves in this slouched position, the tendency is to squeeze our shoulder blades back. And then we kind of play this game all day. So what I want you guys to try here, instead of this squeeze back, I want you to think of rotating your shoulders back in the socket. So as I rotate, I'm not squeezing my shoulder blades back. I'm just slightly rotating. So from the front, it looks like my palms are facing forward. And then what I should be able to do is leave my shoulders there, but then move my hands with whatever I need to do, typing, picking something up. So it's more about your shoulder being rotated, externally rotated is what we call it, versus just pinching your shoulder blades back together. So if you grab your strap and bring it about, let's see, a little bit wider than hip distance here. And what I want you guys to try and do is feel like you're ripping blanket strap apart. And what you'll feel when you do that is you're gonna feel hopefully this activation back where we just rolled, okay? So we woke up that area. This is the muscle that we wanna have active to maintain that good position. It's also really important with things like push-ups, overhead press, a lot of athletic movements. Even when you're just resting on your bike, that kind of thing. So as you pull apart, you rotate and see if you can maintain that rotation as you lift and then drop back down. So I'm gonna do that from the side here. So I'm here, I'm breaking this blanket in half. So you can see that rotation is happening, not squeezing, just that rotation. And as I lift, I'm getting that activation here. So just kind of check in with yourself this week when you're doing that. It's pretty cool to be able to be in a better position throughout the day so you don't get a lot of these aches and pains. So just something to think about and play with. So before we move on to the hips, what I want you guys to do here My goodness, I don't have my Coregeous ball out. So we're gonna use Coregeous ball if you have this bouncy ball. You can use soccer ball, something like that, because we're gonna be on the chest, so we're not gonna be pressing into the organs. You can also just take your blanket, excuse me, and just lay on it on your chest. So I want you to lay right underneath your collarbone. So we're gonna go face down here, just like this. And you wanna rest your head on your hands, and you're gonna take some really deep breaths into the ball, towel, blanket, something like that. And as you inhale, you should be able to feel some stuff working on your chest bone, your sternum, but also a good amount of stretch will start to happen in your upper back because we're starting to open up that rib cage, especially with that breath. You can add a little bit of motion side to side if you're on a ball. You can add a little twist. All right, go ahead and come on up. Hey, don't drink that. I don't know if you guys have ever had these, but these are delicious. Dram, they're local in Colorado. It just is a sparkling water with some bitters in it. Amazing. Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of stuff for the hips. So you're gonna be on your hands and knees. If you can't kneel comfortably, you can stand and do this. And we're just gonna do some hip circles. So I want you to activate your core here, your midline, keep it nice and stable. And I'm just gonna move my hips in a clockwise direction. So if I'm doing this standing, I can just be here, still keeping this stable, hold on to something for support, and just moving in a clockwise direction. So we're gonna get a little bit of lubrication in the hip socket, wake it up a little bit. Should feel your glute muscle kicking in a little bit too, and go ahead and switch directions. So we're going counterclockwise now. Still trying as hard as you can to keep this nice and stable. Okay, go ahead and switch to the other side. Going, I guess I'm going counterclockwise on this side. And then go ahead and switch the other direction. Okay, so this one we are going to be putting a little bit of extra pressure on the knees. If you, I'll walk through this and then I'll show you some modifications. So what we're gonna do is you wanna think of the force coming through your knee to the back of your butt cheek. So we're not gonna be folding into a pigeon type stretch, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swing this foot in and pin it into position with my other knee. And then what I'm doing is I'm literally, you can see my lower back arching. I'm just sinking into this hip socket here. So the force is going through the knee. You should feel a stretch on the outside of your hip socket here. Moving a little bit side to side. If you feel a pinch in the front of your hip, you are going to come up and do the modification that I'm going to show for those of you that can't get on your knee. So if kneeling bothers you or that gave you a pinch in the hip, what we're going to do is you're going to crisscross this, so that figure 4 stretch, and you're going to just try to pull your hip back into the socket. And I'm going to use my hands to drive. As much as I'm pulling this down with my butt muscles, I'm pushing out here. So that you can do safely and keep those knees nice and healthy. So we're going to hang out here just a little bit longer, and let's add a little bit of movement too. So if you're in this position, you're going to bring your hip back a little bit. Just kind of cruise around and search for different areas that might be stiff. All right, go ahead and unwind there. We're going to switch to the other side. So force going through here, kick that leg in and drop the other knee down, and just drop down on the back. What we're stretching here is the glute muscles, your butt cheek, but it's also really getting the hip capsule, which is a deeper layer of tissue surrounding the hip joint. Hi. It's deeper than the muscles though. So a lot of times this hip capsule, as a manual therapist, like a physical therapist, we can really work on that, but it's nice to be able to, again, know that you guys can do this stuff at home too. A little bit more, get a little bit of dropping back. All right, can come on out of that. So we're gonna finish with one of my favorite hip stretches and do a little bit of variety with it depending on how comfortable you are and your balance and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna show you guys on the couch first, and then we'll do a little bit of a deeper variation. So what we're gonna be working on is just the front of the thigh here. So I can, if I had an armrest here, I would balance my hand here, and my foot just falls into the crease of the couch here. I'm gonna squeeze my glute here and my midline and just stretch here, okay? If you want a little bit of a deeper stretch, we're gonna come down to the ground here. I'm gonna roll up this blanket so I have a little cushion for my knee. So my foot is actually going up on the bottom of the couch here. And what I'm gonna start with is actually just bringing this knee out to the side. So we're getting a little bit of different variety. I'm still keeping my glute active and my midline active. So nothing is arching. I should just feel a stretch in the front of the hip here. I'm gonna move a little bit side to side. It's really nice when you're doing hip stretches and that kind of stuff to cruise around, because we don't move in one plane of movement. So we don't walk one direction. We do twists, we move side to side. So when we're stretching, we really want to kind of search for those kind of junky areas as we're moving. So to add a little bit more intensity, if you would like, we're going to bring this leg forward. That has the tendency to create some hamstring cramps, so try to get into it nice and slow. I'm still, again, really active here, really active in my butt cheek, and just cruising a little bit side to side. All right, let's go ahead and switch to the other side. So if you're doing the couch option, so a little bit of variety that you guys can do is once you're here, I can bring this leg a little bit wider and I can still get that motion too. So you guys can still get creative down there as well. So foot up on the couch here and start with that knee just out to the side. Get that glute and midline nice and active. Moving a little bit side to side. So this side I can feel a little bit more my groin being worked, so you can get different areas. Twist side to side. And then I'm going to bring this leg forward. With all the increased sitting that people are doing right now, this is a really good one to just kind of help balance that out. And like I was talking before with everyone on their bike, we just want to make sure those hips stay moving so the other joints don't take the brunt, like your lower back and your knees. Just a little bit longer. And then we can slowly come on out of that. Come on back down. And that is it for tonight. Thanks for hanging out. So this week, the PayPal link is still in the Facebook group. If you guys are interested or able to donate, we're donating 10% of whatever is donated to another local gym. So Project Move is a CrossFit performance gym that I've worked with for a few years now. Great community, and as you guys all know, everyone is, especially gyms, are affected by everything that's going on. So super happy to be able to share a percentage of your donations to that community. They're doing a bunch of online stuff as well. projectmove.com on Facebook and all the good things. And the owner is actually putting together a guide, because I don't know if you guys have noticed how much content is on the internet right now. It's kind of hard to know what to follow. So he's putting together his recommendations for what things that he would recommend following. So sometimes it's kind of nice just to have that support in that guide. So I'm gonna pop off, take the doggy for a walk, but you guys have a good evening. And if you have any requests for Wednesday, we'll be back on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard. And I will see you then.